Hi everyone! Today we are ordering mixed and improper fractions using Equatio. So again today, similar to comparing, we are going to order fractions this time by finding a common denominator or by using a number line. And I am going to show you the area model as well to start. So on to the question we go. We have been given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different improper fractions or mixed numbers. When we're given such a big set like this, we are always going to start by looking for any of the kind of outlier numbers. Anything that is less than 1, greater than 1, greater than 2, to see if there's any obvious answers. So right away, if I look through my fractions, greater than 1, less than 1, greater than 1, greater than 1, greater than 1. So 7/8 is the only proper fraction here. It's the only one less than 1. So right away, I know that that's going to be my smallest fraction. So I only have 4 left to contend with here. Now I can see 1 3/4, 5/8, which is going to be greater than 1, but less than 2, and 5/3, which again is going to be greater than 1 and less than 2. So 2.5 then is going to be my largest number. So right away, I've taken out my smallest and largest, and I'm only left with the 3 middle fractions here to compare. So time to go ahead and open up your Equatio toolbar and open up a math space, and let's get started with our area model. Now, the area model I've already done for you. I'm not going to walk you through all the steps because it's the same as yesterday's. So you can see 1 3/4. We know that it's broken up into fourths because the denominator tells me to. This is 1 whole and 3 more quarters. You can see my 8/5 here. My whole is broken into fifths because the denominator tells me that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's not broken up into fifths. Let's fix that. There we go. Now it's broken up into fifths, and we'll turn it green again. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5. And we're going to have to break this one up into fifths as well. And we needed 3 more fifths. So 6, 7, and 8/5. Thanks for sticking with me there. So 8/5 is here. Now, last we have 5/3. So the denominator tells me to break it up into 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3 pieces. So 3/3 is our 1 whole, and we need 2 more thirds to get our 5/3. Now, again, these are very close. It looks to me like 8/5 will be our next smallest number, followed by 5/3 and 1 3/4, but they are very close. So again, wonderful that we have this program that we can use online that is extremely accurate, but doing that by hand, it's going to be too hard to be that accurate using a sketch. So I'm going to insert this into the space, but you'll see that's why I've encouraged you to use common denominators or work on our number lines. So let's insert that so we have it. But let's move on to our next model, which is finding the common denominator. Now, I've got started with this one too, so don't be afraid when you see all my crazy numbers. Whoa. Okay, so we know that the first thing in finding a common denominator is listing all the multiples of the denominators until you come up with one in common. Now, when we have 3 denominators to contend with, you can sometimes get stuck going quite far in your multiples list. You can see the first number that I've come up with in common is the number 60. So 4 is a factor of 60. So is 5, and so is 3. And that's the first number that all 3 of them came up with. Now, just to let you know, there is a little cheat to this. If you take the denominators and multiply all 3 denominators together, you will always find that common multiple. So I could just have kind of cheated and went 4 times 5 is 20, times 3, 20, 40, 60, and there's that 60 number that I was talking about. So from here, we know that we can now create our equivalent fractions with common denominators. Now, for the top one there, I put it on top to remind us all to start with, we need to first turn them all into mixed numbers or improper fractions. And because two of them are improper fractions, I'm going to turn this one into an improper fraction as well. So 1 is the same as 4/4, and I have 3 more fourths here. So we'll start off by changing that to 4/4 plus 3/4, which is 7/4. Now I'm going to convert it into my equivalent fraction with a denominator of, let's undo that, my denominator is going to be 60. Now I know that 4 times 15 is 60. I think of a clock when I do that. I do 15, 30, 45, and 60. So if I multiply the bottom by 15, I also have to multiply the top by 15. So 7 times 15. Now, 7 times 15 isn't part of our times table, so if I was doing this in my head, I would do 7 times 10, which is 70. I'll sketch it out over here. Plus 7 times 5, which is 35. Oops, and that's going to help me solve 7 times 15, which is those two added together are 105. Excellent. So this one is going to be part of our times tables here. We know that 5 times 12 is 60. So 5 times 12, common denominator of 60. 8 times 12, for those of you again that can't do that in your head, we can break it into its parts. I would do 8 times 10 is 80, plus 8 times 2 is 16. Put those together to get our answer of 96. And I will just write here that we were multiplying that by 12. And last but not least, we have 3 times what is 60, and 20, 40, 60. 3 times 20, that would be. And that will give us our denominator, our equivalent fraction with a denominator of 60. If I multiply the bottom by 20, I have to multiply the top by 20. So 5 times 20, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Excellent. Okay, so now that we have our equivalent fractions, we can again see and compare much more easily. We just have to compare the numerators. So 1 3/4 is the largest, followed by 5/3, and the smallest is 8/5. Let's go ahead and insert that big mess into our math slides. It's not really a big mess. It is showing all of our steps, and it does make it very clear. Okay, last but not least, we are going to do our linear model. So on our linear model, we are going to put those 3 numbers on a number line. So again, I've got it started for us here. I've created our 0 to 1 number line. Let's remember that after we create our 1 number line, we're going to use that same number line and we're going to copy and paste it. We need to keep our whole the same length. So let's start with 1 3/4 and mark that on our number line. So our number line needs to be broken up into fourths. Our denominator always tells us that. So let's break it up into quarters, and 1 would take us here and 3 more quarters, 1, 2, 3. So our first line that we're going to add on needs to be here. I'm just going to make it nice and big. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to change it a color. I'm going to bring this fraction over here to label it my 1 3/4. All right, next let's click back on our line here and let's get it to represent 8/5. So right away I know that it needs to be broken into 5 segments to show fifths. I need 8/5. So 5/5 got me to where the 1 is. I can label that if it's helpful. 5/5. And so 8/5 is going to be a little bit further than that. It's going to be 5/5, 6/5, 7/5, 8/5. So this is our 8/5 line. Let's grab a line to mark on there. Let's see if I can change it before I write here. Oh, undo. I forgot to click off that line again. There we go. And right here is going to be our 8/5. Undo. Let's use the select tool to bring 8/5 over to that line. Excellent. Okay, last but not least, we need to figure out where to put 5/3. So what tells us where to put 5/3 is breaking this number line into segments of 3, like our denominator tells us. Once it's in thirds, we can look what we're trying to put on here. We know that this is also the same as 3/3. So I can write that on there. 3/3. 1 3/3. Awesome. And we need 2 more thirds to make it to 5/3. So let's go 4/3 and 5/3. So I'm going to add another colored line on there. Let's select a line. Let's paint it blue this time and add my line right here. And you can see that that's my middle one. Oh, it didn't want to go blue for me. Click on it and try it one more time. There we go. Okay, I'm going to use my select tool to bring 5/3 down to label this line here. I think they're all pretty clear on here now. And again, that labeled it really clearly. 8/5 is the smallest of the 3, then 5/3, then 1 3/4. Let's insert it into our math space. In the end, we should always remember to show them from smallest to largest for our final answer. So we can go back up to the top here and switch them to the order that we know. So we know the next smallest was 8/5, followed by 5/3, then 1 3/4. So now my improper fractions and mixed numbers are ordered from smallest to largest. Next, it's going to be your turn. I'll give you some fractions, or I'm asking you to choose some fractions to put in order here. One more quick one to prove that you know what you're doing here. And that will be it for the week. Awesome job. I know you can do this. Have a good one.